Right. Let's just get straight into it. Today, we're cracking open a highly classified explainer, completely bypassing the usual bureaucratic noise to look at the terrifying, undeniable physical realities of newly declassified UAP crafts. Thanks to the massive release of the PureSue files by the Department of War, we finally have an unprecedented look into exactly what these objects look like, and more importantly, how they behave. We are going to build a visual taxonomy of the unknown right here. And I promise you, the shapes and the real imagery documented in these government files, they are going to absolutely challenge everything you think you know about our skies.
Just picture this. You're standing in the pitch black at a highly sensitive national security site out in the western United States. You're a federal law enforcement agent. You look up at the sky and you ask your partner that exact chilling question. Are you seeing this? Look, this isn't a movie script. This is a direct, verified quote from Witness 3 filed in a formal Pentagon report. And what they saw that night in October 2023 perfectly kicks off our taxonomy.
Section 1. The Orange Mother Orb. We're starting with a shape that completely shatters our understanding of basic aerodynamics and physics.
So this term, the mother orb, isn't internet slang. This stark clinical definition comes directly from a June 2026 report signed by AARO Director John Kozlowski. He detailed a highly classified two-day encounter where 5 separate federal agents tracked these weird lights moving in groups. But it wasn't just lights. It was a massive, extremely bright orange object that was literally, and I mean literally, hatching smaller crafts.
Like grapes being expelled from a basketball. That is a visceral, almost biological description, and it's exactly how Witness 3 described the massive orange craft physically giving birth to a swarm of smaller anomalies. Another agent on the scene, Witness 4, actually reported losing count after 5 distinct cycles of these smaller red orbs being violently pushed out into the night sky.
And once they were expelled from the mother orb, these smaller red spheres didn't just drift around like balloons. They exhibited instantaneous acceleration. They moved with smooth, perfect synchronization into these rigid horizontal formations, and they did the whole thing in dead silence. The official ARAO report concluded that up to 40% of the phenomena in this incident could be attributed to unrecognized technology. So yeah, they left the case completely unresolved.
Section 2. Plasma spheres and fireflies. Moving away from the deserts of the West, we find very similar geometries haunting the northeastern United States in 2024 and 2025.
Imagine pulling into your driveway after a long day at work, only to find a blinding shape hovering silently just 25 feet off the ground, right below the tree line in your own backyard. This terrifyingly ordinary encounter was actually captured on video and intensely analyzed by the FBI, which ended up providing us with some of our most concrete visual data to date.
Now pay attention to the internal structure here because this is wild. According to the FBI interviews, these were brilliant red spheres about 1 meter in diameter, but inside, they held a white, blazing plasma core. Witnesses described it like a miniature sun the size of a basketball. 2 of these objects moved in tandem, perfectly silent, almost as if they were tethered together by some invisible force, before they literally merged into a single light source and just vanished.
Then we have this chilling descriptor from the Pentagon's analysis of the October 2024 Orbs Over the Pond video. Captured just 25 miles from that previous sighting, this sphere was recorded hovering about 2,700 feet away. It was intermittently changing shape, and terrifyingly, the primary sphere was recorded physically separating into smaller luminous points that just hovered right above the water before completely disappearing.
Section 3. The hollow-centered disks. Okay, let's step away from the glowing orbs and look at a shape straight out of a psychological thriller. A shape that triggered a massive, global intelligence alert.
Listen, this wasn't just a fleeting shadow in someone's backyard. The Harare disk was a massive craft that hovered right over an international airport. It was tracked simultaneously by civilian air traffic controllers and military radar operators. This incident was so serious it generated a high-priority intelligence report that was transmitted directly to the White House Situation Room.
This specific hollow-centered craft put the entire local military sector on extreme high alert. Just look at the physical traits: a distinctly hollow center, rotating lights on the underside of its airframe, and it projected these intense downward-pointing beams of light. Intelligence officials were left scrambling, completely unable to determine if they were looking at a highly advanced foreign reconnaissance drone or an entirely anomalous physical phenomenon.
Section 4.
trans-medium cylinders, and tic-tacs. The physical taxonomy continues with the solid, featureless geometric shapes that have aggressively dominated military sightings for decades.
This is not a new mystery, folks. As early as 1948, the Navy was already tracking reappearing flying discs. Jump to 1973, an Army Reserve helicopter crew was terrified when a giant, green-glowing, cigar-shaped craft stopped dead above them and physically pulled their helicopter 3,500 feet up into the sky. And in 2023, Navy officers watched modern tic-tacs linking up in formation over the Pacific. These pill-like shapes are a persistent, undeniable physical reality. These specific crafts maneuver with an instant, literally violent speed. But perhaps the most unsettling thing about them is their transmedium capability. They can travel seamlessly from the crushing depths of the ocean directly into the air without even splashing, which absolutely shatters every known law of modern aviation and fluid dynamics.
Now, the government files present two completely different realities here. Former RO Director Sean Kirkpatrick suggests these shapes caught on video might simply be thermal blooms from jet engines captured by infrared cameras. However, on the other hand, highly experienced senior Navy officers report visually watching these glowing, solid objects emerge directly from the water to form a linked formation before speeding away. The Pure Sioux files impartially document both sides, the official skepticism and the startling realities reported by the eyewitnesses.
Section 5. The opalescent potato. Let's move to the next shape, because perhaps the most bizarre and physically detailed craft from the latest FBI release looks almost organic.
Picture 5 heavily armed soldiers standing outside the highly secure Cheyenne Mountain Complex in 2022, looking up and seeing an organic-looking, solid object just hanging dead in the winter sky. The FBI took these reports incredibly seriously, going so far as to create detailed digital renderings based on the exact witness descriptions to try and capture the true, unsettling nature of the craft.
It's the sheer exactness of these descriptors that makes this case so unsettling. They didn't just see a flash of light. They saw a creamy, whitish object with a distinct opalescent shimmer. It was somewhat translucent, almost as if it were phasing in and out of a physical state, hovering completely silently over the mountains.
So some intelligence partners conducted an analysis and tried to evaluate this, albeit with low confidence, as simply sunlight backscattering off the snowpack onto low-altitude clouds. However, the physical details reported by the soldiers were so stark and that shimmering solidity was so specific that the Pentagon ultimately classified the case as an unresolved true physical anomaly.
Section 6. The cycle of reappearance. Having cataloged these distinct, terrifying shapes, the mother orbs, the hollow disks, the trans-medium cylinders, and the translucent anomalies, we really have to ask what their continued, escalating presence actually means for us.
This sounds like something out of a horror movie, right? But it's actually a direct quote from a declassified 1948 Navy memorandum to the Chief of Naval Operations. It proves that the military has known for nearly 80 years that these geometric nightmares operate on a deeply disturbing schedule. They vanish, and then they return.
And look at the deep divide within the government itself right now. On one side, you've got scientific bodies like AARO classifying these crafts as advanced, unrecognized technologies demanding better sensors. On the flip side, leaders like Vice President J.D. Vance are publicly warning that these may actually be spiritual demons or celestial manifestations of evil. The declassified files impartially document the phenomena, basically leaving the rest of society to grapple with these radically different but equally terrifying interpretations.
Because here's the absolute bottom line you need to take away from this explainer. Whether they are highly advanced foreign drones, celestial manifestations, or actual off-world craft, these shapes are real. They have been repeatedly documented by our most advanced military sensors and our most highly trained personnel. They are here in our skies, right now. And if the Navy was right back in 1948, the cycle of reappearance has already begun. The only question left is, what happens when the cycle peaks?